This is a small creek or channel that flows from a small lake at the center of the island filled with mangroves out to Biscayne Bay. It's filled with lots and lots of very tiny aquarium-sized fish. The water is cloudy and brown and changes color noticeably as I move out of the creek into the bay, where the water is much more transparent, a blue-green, and has much larger fish. I saw this conch, which is the only one that I saw while I was in the bay. Although I'm moving along the seawall pretty fast, I'm not actually swimming. I'm just floating, and I'm being carried by a current caused by the tide. The water is moving along the seawall towards a cut between this island and the next, and I have to swim pretty hard if I want to look at things like this very beautifully colored fish who seems to be as curious about me as I am about him. Several years ago I saw the coral bloom, and it's about to do so again because it's about 1 week before the full moon in August, and these light brown coral with the rosettes on them have a little ball in the center of each rosette that's released when the coral spawns. It's strange to see these without the ball because they've either spawned early or are not ready to do so yet. I don't know which. Here are more of those things from Avatar that pull back in. I also saw Captain Picard from Star Trek The Next Generation's lionfish. These fish are an invasive species, and I think you're allowed to kill them and eat them even if you don't have a fishing license. Those beautiful feathery spines have very serious venom in them. So if you spear one, make sure it's dead and then snip off those spines before you start to try to fillet the fish. As the tide carries me along the seawall, I'm swept through this absolutely huge school of fish. Each fish is at least 10 inches to a foot long, and the school contains just uncountable hundreds of them. They seem to be hanging out next to the wall, either to eat something that grows on the wall, to be in the shade, or at least to be safe from predators on one side of the school. Whatever reason they like to hang along the wall, they're afraid as I approach and move out into deeper water. The amazing thing is that as I move along, there's just more and more and more of these. This huge school of fish just seems to go on and on forever. It's amazing to see so many fish next to this one little island. Here I'm drifting along next to the wall, moving a bit faster than I was before as I'm approaching the channel between the two islands. There's lots of these urchins with the very long, beautiful black spines, and even in an anemone, which is this incredible purple color. it's fastened itself to the wall, and twice a day the tide sweeps all the food it could possibly want past those stinging tentacles, which grab whatever it wants and haul it in. I'm right at the corner where the north-south seawall makes a turn and goes east-west through the channel between this island and the next. And I'm being swept through an enormous school of these very tiny fish. Each one is only about 2 inches long. If they were in fresh water, we'd call these minnows. Like the other school, they keep coming in just uncountable thousands. I wonder whether these are the offspring of or the food source for the other school of fish. The school, although the movement of individual fish seems to be a little bit random, is swimming to stay in place as the tide sweeps things past them, possibly their food as well. As I move away from the minnows, I'm now in the channel between the two islands, and the tidal flow is extremely strong here. Huge chunks of anything that's not attached to the bottom or the seawalls is carried along by the tide and swept out of the bay through the channels. This is Biscayne Bay's way of flushing the toilet. Huge snowballs of seaweed get gathered together as they roll along the bottom of the channel. It's just amazing to see so much stuff moving along so fast. In order to prevent myself from being swept out to sea with all of this stuff, I have to leave the water. And I find the beach at the south end of the island just covered with sponges. Apparently part of the mess being swept out to sea gets washed up on this little beach. And now I follow the path across the island back to where I started.